Hi there, welcome to Insight Consulting. I am Krisnan Hurdle. I'm the lead consultant here at Insight Consulting, and I'm so happy to have with me today Carol Toppin. Thank you for being here with me, Carol.
You're most welcome. Thank you for having me.
We met more recently in a workshop on emotional intelligence, and we exchanged conversation, and we got to hear a little bit about each other's stories. One thing that has impressed me, some of the work that you've been doing that has impressed me is your work with ladies on the age or the cuff of 40 plus and phenomenal. Yes. Tell me about that. First of all, what is it about? And then we're going to go into why you started it.
Well, it's basically a movement for women who are, or I should say, started as a movement for women who are 40 and over.
Okay.
So 40s, 50s, 60s, 90s, whatever.
Okay.
That's how it started in my head, because the first time I had this concept, I was about 35.
Okay.
Believe it or not. And I was thinking, why am I thinking about 40s when I'm just 35? Because I was looking around me, and I was looking at like my sisters who were in their 40s at that time, aunts, and then my circle of friends. We were all in our mid-30s and thinking, I want my 40s to be special. It was kind of scary thinking about getting there, but I wanted it to be special. So I started with a concept, and that concept didn't really take shape until I actually turned 40, and I decided that I wanted it to be a movement. A movement of women in their 40s and over to sit and talk about some of the issues. Anything we want to talk about, from relationships to health to whatever, whatever it was. Our kids, career changes, career choices, owning our own homes, anything we want to talk about. And I initially thought of, just going out as a group, going for a drink, sitting down, as women naturally do, but just giving it a name and giving it some regularity where we would stop what we were doing, because a lot of us are busy. I had a couple of friends who are professionals, others who are mainly, doing at-home stuff with kids, some who are entrepreneurs. So it was like, come on, man, we need to take some time out. So when I became 40, then I wanted to make it really,
official.
Official, but give it something that we had to commit to,
Right.
As opposed to every once in a while trying. But it really blossomed into something completely different where it is now. And that has blown my mind, because I never expected it to be as big as it is now.
It speaks to the need for it.
Definitely, and I did not realize the need for it, because as I said, it started with a concept, then I looked around the women in my inner circle, because you need to have an inner circle, I'm just saying, and then other women, and it started with just a chat, and I work in radio, so I went to my boss at the time, when I was working with CETA Radio, and I said, listen, this is what I want to do. It was no question. He said, go for it. And when we started doing the show regularly on Saturdays, people were calling, can we discuss this? Can we discuss that? I moved on. I'm at Starcom Network at present, and it's just continued to grow, and people want events now. We had a seminar. I mean, it is crazy. Crazy good, though.
Yes.
Crazy good. Crazy good.
And you go to church, you go to different places, you hear people talk. I've heard people talk about it. I've heard women say, yep. I've heard women say, whoa, the conference was phenomenal. Phenomenal, 40 plus and phenomenal. You're onto something good, Carol. And one of the things I really like about you is your energy, the vibe that you get from you. Sometimes you can't tell when, there are some people that when you speak with them, engage with them, you aren't always able to tell when they're tired. And you are one of those persons that you have to be, to me, especially engaging with you in the workshop. You seem to have to be really down and under for you to really give that vibe of being tired and not wanting to be present. But I really like your energy, and I'm sure that that's the reason, or one of the reasons, why this program has taken off in the way it has. 40 plus and phenomenal.
Another thing, Krisnan, is like when you talk about what you do and helping people and helping people to become better at who they are and where they are in life and getting to where they want to be. You have to be passionate, because what I get from you from the first time I met you is your passion for people.
Right.
I am passionate about 40 plus and phenomenal.
Okay.
I really am. I guess it's obvious, but I don't think that people really give 100% to anything. That's a relationship, that's a job, that's a concept like 40 plus and phenomenal, unless they're passionate. And radio, yes, there are no cameras, although I do a Facebook Live. People can tell whether you're genuine or not and whether you're passionate or not. And if I say that I really want to, I am a 40 plus woman. I'm going to be 50 in 2 years. I'm just saying. If I say that I want to bring something fresh, bring something new, where women in their 40s can really engage and talk and discuss, can laugh, can cry, can grow.
Can be themselves.
Yes. I have to be passionate about it, because there's nothing worse than you going into a situation you realize, wait, this person is only interested in popularity, or that word that they use a lot on social media, being an influencer. I'm passionate about women really living and being their best selves now.
Amazing.
Something that has happened that really blew my mind is, as I said, it started as 40 and up, but a lot of women in their 30s, as in 30 years old, 35, they're now following. They're like, Carol, we really love the program. I never knew that.
Wow.
And then you recognize there's this, I feel I have a responsibility to pave the way for young women as well.
Right.
Because God willing, you'll get there.
And you paving the way, but maybe there needs to be some other avenue for those younger ages. Maybe that 40 plus must go a little younger. But we know that 40 years old is a very strategic, very important landmark, milestone in life, not just for ladies, but also for men as well. What are some of the things that you see from your experience with engaging with women, you see happening at the age of 40? What happens at 40?
I think it is a huge time of reflection. I think all up until your 40th birthday, there's kind of like this dread, oh my gosh, I'm going to be 40, I'm going to be 40.
I know old.
Yeah, seriously, it's true. It's true. And I remember when I was turning 40, my son said, geez, you're so old. And I was like, thanks, dear. But then when you actually hit the milestone, several things happened. I remember I had, for my 40th, I wanted a back in time party, dress up. I had all of that. But within 2 weeks of having that, it was a great time. All of my friends, my mom, my brothers and sisters, everybody was there. We had a blast. But 2 weeks after that, I had what I consider a little mini breakdown.
Okay.
I sat, and it was sometime in the night, I sat down, or I was sleeping and I got up. And I thought, wait a minute, what have I accomplished? I don't have this, and I don't have that, and I haven't achieved this, and I haven't gone here. And I just sat at 2 weeks after 40 and thought about everything I had not achieved in my life.
Whoa.
It was, I cried and I cried. I felt really upset. I felt like a failure. All this time, you're working in radio, people think you're the greatest thing since sliced bread, or at least some people do. But that 2 weeks after my 40th, I sat down and thought of everything that I didn't have. A broken relationship is what I had, on the brink of divorce. I didn't have a degree in something that I really wanted to study. I didn't own my own home. And I thought of everything that I didn't have. And that was an awful, awful time. And I remember talking to a friend of mine, and she says, okay, I understand exactly how you feel, because she's 2 years older than I am. She said, I went through the same thing, but I want you to sit down, Carol, and write down all the things that you don't have, but write down all the things that you are thankful for and that you do have.
All right.
A real simple exercise. You could tell me, but my things that I'm thankful for, the list, and the things that I had far outweighed all the things that I was upset about. That
is phenomenal. That's one of the exercises I would go through with clients. And they don't have to be 40, but people usually focus a lot more on what they don't have, because what you don't have are oftentimes seen as needs, things that are missing. When you not having things kind of overwhelms, especially if there are things that you know or believe very strongly that you should have, whether it is a family, whether it's a home, relationship, whatever it is, job, whatever. Your mind tends to exaggerate and magnify the needs or the wants, so that you tend to make it bigger than it really is. But when you realize gratitude is something that is very, very important. Being able to sit down and list the things that you're grateful for. I remember when I started business and things were really slow, and sometimes a week see 2 or 3 clients. Days go by, you don't see anybody. And I deliberately decided, and this is something that I shared with clients as well, I decided to start what I called a gratitude journal, where I would every day go through a list of things that I have, rather than focusing on what I didn't have and how things weren't working. Write a list of what I have and what was going good for me. That really helped me to magnify, or as Dr. Kennedy years ago used to say, accentuate the positive. It helped me to see what I did have going for me. Some people, situations can look very dire, but there are always things that we do have going for us. So
you being a professional, though, I gotta jump in here. You being a professional, for me, it was easy to come out of it because I had that really positive person in my life, and I guess it's also your mentality as an individual.
Yes.
I tend to snap out of things fairly quickly.
Okay.
But what would you do, because you're the pro, with someone who tends to stay there for a while? Because I have met women who, no matter how much positive thinking you tell them about and gratitude, they're stuck. They're stuck in this place of depression, and it's real. What people feel is real. Even if we don't understand it, it's real. So what would you suggest to a woman watching now, or a man, you don't have to be a woman, who just seems at the point mentally, I can't move forward?
It is important to know that what is going on right now, even though it's something that may have been happening for a long time, it is something that there's a root in it. And it's important to dig into the root, understanding what is the reason, maybe where it started, or what this problem is all about. Most of the time, people don't get past issues. Most of the time, people are stuck because they haven't dealt with the root. Sometimes the root might be their mindset or their approach to life, their perspective towards life. Sometimes it is the environment they grew up in, the conditioning, or we call the programming that they grew up in the environment at home, which says maybe a negative mindset, always seeing the negative, always being pessimistic. Maybe, and because of these things, people can attract, in some cases, negative outcomes to themselves because you're always stuck on what isn't working. Depression, or what we refer to as depression, where you feel low and things aren't working out. Depression is oftentimes rooted in trauma or in hurts. Seeing a bad situation and replaying it in your mind and thinking this is where I will be for the rest of my life. And as a result of that, then they continue to create negative outcomes because they always see what isn't going to work, what hasn't worked, how it will not work, etc. So whether it is depression, or whether it is anxiety, or in some cases, stress. Stress, likewise, when you're stressed, you're focusing on what is overwhelming. Many times, as someone says, when you're feeling pain or hurt, you can't focus on anything else. You can't think of anything else. So being able to begin to condition the person's mind, or get the person to condition their mind to see what is positive, to see the people in their lives, to see support systems, to see other resources or places that they can reach out to for help. Very, very important.
I find too, when you can encourage people to try something different. If you've been doing the same things over and over and over again, and you realize they're not working, then you have to try something different. I find women, we get stuck. We're accustomed to doing things the way our mother did it. She learned from her grandmother. And even relationships, we repeat these bad cycles. Sometimes you just have to say, okay, this hasn't worked, stop.
It's important to know what you're doing. Awareness is very important. So once you understand what you're doing, again, get into the root, understand what is the cycle that's happening. And many times an aha moment comes. They actually didn't realize what they were doing. And then the trying something different is let's work out a strategy to try that new thing. So they're not just doing something haphazard, they're actually going according to a plan. And they can say, well, this plan isn't working, and they can see why. Yeah.
Got to be intentional about change.
Intentional.
You really do.
And that is one of the things that we learned in our course, emotional intelligence. We were involved, both Carol and I were involved in a program called EQ Barbados, which is looking at emotional intelligence. I'm going to be having an interview soon with Tony Olton, who is the founder of EQ Barbados. And in that course, which we did together, one thing that we learned is about being intentional and living more intentionally, living more deliberately, consequential thinking. How do you see being intentional? So you've crossed over that cusp, you've crossed over that milestone of 40. How important or how significant is it for a woman or someone who is over 40, because we're not only speaking to women here, how important is it for people to be intentional?
I think it is crucial, almost critical, because you have to come to the point in your life where you realize that time is very precious. We say it all the time, but we don't really understand. One of the things I find that helps us to get a better view of it, unfortunately, when you turn 40, something starts happening often, and that's death.
Okay.
You see it all around you. It's parents, it's grandparents, it's friends. And when it hits close to home, a lot of us, male or females, in our 40s especially, because now we're thinking about something that we never thought of before, and that's retirement. Okay. You know? But death tends to, for many of us, really hit home the point that life is precious. You don't think about that when you're 20. You're certainly not thinking about it as a teenager. But when that starts to happen around you often, even in the news where it's not someone you know, I get emotional, especially when I recognize that young people are falling. And it also constantly triggers this thing, life is precious. You have to make the best of everything. In other words, Carol, you need to be intentional about how you spend your time, who you spend your time with. I have this thing. 40 plus and phenomenal means being intentional about the who in your life. You have to be intentional about the who in your life. You can waste time pouring into people who are not necessarily there with you or for you. It's not that you don't care about them, but you learn to change and to adapt, to invite new people in, new experiences in, and kind of say, I love you, but from a distance. You got to be intentional. Where you spend your time, who you spend your time with. What are you going to do with this time that I have? It's some serious questions that we need to ask ourselves, and then be intentional about going after the things that make us happy. You know, we live in the tropics. I have the experience of living in the tropics and living in a country that rains entirely too often. I have the experience of not seeing the ocean for a year and a half, and then coming home and living right next to it, but not going. But when you're intentional, you smell flowers, you go for walks, you go to the beach. Even if you don't want to go in the water, you put your toes in. You have to be intentional, otherwise you're wasting time. And I think it's something that we know, but doing the emotional intelligence with EQ Barbados, it really cemented something that was always there. Carol, you need to be intentional. What are you going to do with the rest of your life? I don't know how long that is. So when we're going to sit down and wait to change things 10 years from now, I could have 10 minutes from now. I'll be right downstairs by you. But anyhow, I need to be intentional about the now. And that was powerful for me.
So we looked at things like writing a eulogy or a personal mission statement. And then how do we work it out? So we work from the end, what we want to have been said about us, and then working back. How do we get there? From there, from here forward to there. What are some of the lessons that you learned from that program? Other lessons you learned from the program with EQ Barbados?
One quote that stuck in mind, not necessarily quote, but begin with the end in mind. Same thing you just said, basically. Think about what it is you really want. And forgetting about the past. There's nothing, these are things we know, but sometimes you just need to have it drilled into you. Forgetting about the past. Yes, you go through hurts. Yes, you go through pain, but there's nothing you can do about that. And it helps you with something really powerful, and that's forgiveness. Forgiveness of others and forgiveness of yourself.
Right.
But moving forward, this constant thing of moving forward. I think that was one of the most powerful things I learned where EQ Barbados and emotional intelligence was concerned. Move forward. Constantly move forward. Appreciate everything. Appreciate every day. But also to be empathetic. You may not fully understand why people are the way they are, but don't take it personally. That is such a huge thing, because we get into these things at work, at home, at school, wherever we are, and we take these things personally. They may be personal attacks on us, but don't take them personally.
One thing that I learned is that most of the behaviors that people do aren't necessarily because of you. You might have been part of the process of the behavior of the situation at this time, but their behavior, their reaction is based on what they've been through and how they have been programmed.
And how they process information. And they're just not where you are at.
They're just not where you're at.
So you do not get into this whole reaction type thing, because oftentimes we're left like, oh my goodness, I could have controlled myself. So that was crucial. Don't take things personally and learn to really assess the entire situation. Another thing, because it's all about emotions, there are no right and wrong emotions.
No right or wrong emotions?
There's no right or wrong emotion.
I thought anger was a wrong emotion.
No, it is not.
Oh.
It's just an emotion. It's what we do with that anger then that can determine whether our response to it is negative or positive. You feel what you feel.
Seriously?
Yes. Revolutionary, isn't it?
Yes, it
because
was.
I used to spend a great deal of time feeling guilty about how I felt about a situation or a person. Because you can have some very strong emotions.
Yes.
You can be like, oh, that person. But what do you do with that very strong emotion? If you learn to control yourself and let it go, you know what? Okay, that person is just where they are. I choose to respond in this particular way.
Okay.
If that's the route I go, good for me. If I choose to take up a big rock and throw at them and then end up with the police and court case and all kind of thing, that is a negative response to an emotion. It was just an emotion. I thought that was revolutionary. No right or wrong emotion is what you do with that emotion that determines the outcome or the consequence.
Because some people can use anger to motivate them to achieve. Some people can use anger to hurt and to cause damage. And in the same way, some people can be, I watch cricketers, I watch sports, and in the one decision can determine whether you win a match or lose a match. And it's amazing that hitting a ball for 4 or for 6 can determine whether the person, let's say the batsman, is happy after that shot or is sad and crying after that shot. And then we realize emotions are very powerful, but they're also just signals. We don't have to let the emotions control us.
It's true.
So whatever the situation is, choose how you use the emotions and don't let the emotions control you, but you decide how you respond to the emotions.
I think using the analogy of sports and sportsmen, athletes is great. Basketball is one that I've been around for a lot of years. Trash talking is something that happens all the time. And you see these guys or girls on court and there's one that's always talking or something. And it's all about the mental thing. They're trying to break you down and cause you to relax, to react and lose focus and all those kind of things. But you will see the really good players are ones who are in complete control of their emotions as well as physically able to play whatever game, because the ones who react and start fights and all those kind of things, you bring down an entire team plus yourself. And using that same analogy, when a game is over, it's over. You have to reset and move on to the next thing. It's just like life. When Monday is over, you have to reset and get ready for Tuesday. But if you reacted or responded very negatively all day Monday, you could take some of that negativity
Tuesday.
And the consequences, your boss calling you in for a meeting and giving you the slip. It's how we respond that is crucial to where we go, how we reset every day.
Wow. This is a really powerful conversation. And I would love to carry this on. Of course, there's a lot we can talk about. 40 plus and phenomenal, emotional intelligence, EQ Barbados. Really powerful. I'd encourage any one of you to get involved in that program,
Yes.
EQ Barbados. But Carol, we have to wrap up. Is there anything you'd like to know about the work we do here? Insight Consulting.
How do people get in touch with you if they, because there's still a stigma in Barbados, I find, with getting help and reaching out and getting help. How do people get in contact with you if they really want to get some help? And what kind of, let me ask you, go backwards. What kind of areas do you help people in?
Okay, so emotional work. The root of all negative emotions is hurts and pain, hurt, and trauma. Right? So trauma is something that happens to you, and as a result of trauma, the event that happens to you that overwhelms the system is that you feel hurt, you feel pain. And then from that, you kind of relive the pain or anticipate the pain repeatedly, which causes depression, which causes anxiety, which causes panic, which causes sometimes physical pain, and what we call psychosomatic, where you're feeling pain in the body or different insomnia and all these kind of things, sleep problems. When you know that you're losing control, you're overwhelmed, it is time to reach out. Or even before you get there, when you figure you're going in that direction, it's time to reach out. Fortunately, I've been able to work with a number of males. Men usually don't want to come forward. Men usually think twice before they go to get help. And yes, the females need help, continue to come forward. But one thing I've had said is that we are comfortable with you, Krisnan, and you don't judge and you don't let your opinions get in the way. So I just hear the story and I'm a blank slate, letting them be themselves. So we work with emotional issues. We work with the effects of trauma. You've been through a trauma, you have panic attacks, you have phobias, you get anxiety attacks, you got insomnia, you get flashbacks. I work with those things where people can actually overcome the effects of trauma. I do training, personal training on emotional intelligence, and then I work with people for peak performance. So we're talking sports, we're talking performers on stage, we're talking sales executives, financial advisors. I've worked with a number of them.
That's a lot.
Yeah. In terms of how do they get over their obstacles, their roadblocks, their mental and emotional blocks in order to go out there and sell. How do they get over being turned down and being rejected? Because sometimes you can begin to internalize it and feel like it is something to do with me. So I work with persons on all those fronts, and then we go into a little bit on the pain management side. So in preparation for childbirth, I actually do pain reduction for childbirth. Some people get headaches and migraines, especially related to stress. Yeah. And insomnia related to stress and trauma.
I have insomnia related to age.
Okay.
It's a 40 plus phenomenon.
Yes, I understand that. I understand that. I've seen a couple ladies for that as well.
Yes.
With insomnia, and I've also seen ladies for panic attacks related to the age issues. So there's a wide range, but to put it in a nutshell, I do mental conditioning and emotion resolution and emotion management. Okay. Right? I also have a stress management program that I get referrals from doctors. Almost 24 doctors have referred patients to me. A number of them have sent multiple referrals because they've been seeing the results. So this stress management program is not just relaxation exercises. We look at emotions, we look at mental focus, we look at rest and nutrition, and how do you change your lifestyle to manage or cope with stress better. So that's what we offer here at Insight Consulting. I've worked with some of your colleagues in the media. I won't call any names now. I've worked with a few of them and seeing really good results. All right, so of course, ladies can reach out to you at 40 Plus and Phenomenal, and they can also reach out to us here at Insight Consulting. And I really enjoyed this discussion with you, Carol. All right, and so thank you very much for spending the time here with me. And you can how can we contact you at 40 Plus and Phenomenal? Is there a base or a hub?
Well, there's actually our 40 Plus and Phenomenal Facebook page. On Instagram, I'm just under Carol Toppin, or She's Phenomenal. So I have 2 pages. So that's basically it.
Both on Instagram?
Yes.
Okay. And for us here at Insight Consulting, you can call us at 247-6899 or email insightconsultingbb@gmail.com. Or you can find us on Facebook, Insight Consulting Barbados. So I look forward to working with you. Know that there is support, there is help for you, and we are just a call or an email away. Have a wonderful day, and I look forward to working with you soon.